from Manchester Jewish Museum. I'm the producer there, and I'm speaking to you from my living room because obviously we're on lockdown, and the museum is really sad at the moment because we're not able to get together with all the groups that we normally work with, and I have been particularly missing our fabulous songwriting group. So we've decided that we're going to keep the group going, and we're going to try to attempt to write some songs collaboratively so that everybody adds a little bit in their own homes and we put it all together. And the idea is that we'll premiere them at the Cheetham Festival Spring Fling at the end of May. So as usual, we have been inspired by the stories from our oral history collection, and we found some recordings of Jewish people who lived in Cheetham at the beginning of the 20th century talking about their work in Cheetham, talking about working in factories and how they went about their work and the kinds of sounds that they were experiencing. And we've also been talking in our little group about the weirdness that's going on at the moment about working from home or being at home all the time. And so we decided that we would try to write a few different songs. One to give us some motivation in the mornings to get going with work, probably something to sing whilst we're working to keep us going, and then some music to perhaps rewind and relax to at the end of the day, where we're not necessarily going anywhere different but the working day has finished. So we'll see how it goes. This is the first of our vlog entries. We're going to have different people in the group updating about how we're progressing, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Who should we start with? Should we start with Lily?
Sure.
So Lily's the one who is she grows up in Cheetham and she goes to work in the textile trade, and she becomes a forelady, like a boss in the factory. So I don't know, Joe, do you want to say kind of what you thought about that story?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, well, I picked out the phrase, it was just the one phrase that I picked out, which was the "no good that," which I thought was a good little phrase that we could maybe use. But I think more generally about the story, like, I thought it was interesting how she felt like it was a bit unjust because other people with like less training than her were being paid more and stuff, and that kind of that feeling of like maybe like working hard but not getting all the appreciation you deserve, I think is very common.
Yeah, definitely. Becky,
But I always wanted to be above everybody else. I didn't want to be a worker. As long as I'd learnt it, that was enough. So I left and I went to be a forelady. How did you get that job? Well, I went up and I told them I know everything about this. I've been trained at Coin and Wilkes.
So what about, should we go to Martin? Martin is the one whose father is called Charles Ignatius Bobka, and he's the magician and illusionist who comes from Russia, and he meets his mum in Paris, and she's a cigarette roller like Carmen from the opera. So he's got this like really colourful background, and he's the one that talks quite in detail about what they did in the factory, like the cutting and stuff. Have you got any thoughts about his story, like what sprang out at you?
Yeah, well, the again, I kind of picked out like quite short phrases, but I had the phrase "the sheer hard labor," which seems like a kind of, if we were making a song like when they're working, it's kind of like a little, you know, it's just again like very straight to the point, like sheer hard labor. I don't know. But
Right, I might get this totally wrong. I couldn't hear it properly in the recording.
Yeah.
There was a phrase that he used, obviously, you know, when he was cutting out the fabric and then whatever was left over, they could make garments for themselves. Was it cabbaging?
Cabbage, yeah.
oh, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've got down as well. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I had to listen to it several times to really understand what he was saying. I think what he's saying is, if you were good at putting all the bits, the pattern together, you could use not as much cloth as you were given, and then you took the extra cloth for yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your employer.
About, and I think didn't he use it in like yards or whatever he was saying? It wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, and they'd given them enough fabric to kind of do what they need to do.
Yeah.
But if they managed to kind of piece it together and get as much as they can out, whatever was left over,
Yeah.
they could use it for themselves.
Yeah.
And then
Sold it themselves. Yeah.
You know what cabbage is? Well, I'll explain. Supposing the same happened like when that fellow was working for Needham's. Needham's or whichever firm was making it would say, for these garments we're allowing you 2 3/4 yards of cloth for each garment. And then they would have to find a way of getting it out of 2.5 yards of cloth. That's it. And that's how they used to work. It was sheer hard labour for these cutters.
Okay, well, let's go to Maurice then. So, what was it that made you connect to Maurice?
It was that, again, it was very similar to the way I kind of felt like I connected to Elsa. It was the line, and the line exactly was, things have changed, I know, for the better. I don't necessarily think of work necessarily, but I know it. Obviously, we can link it to work. It's just, again, it's such a beautiful line that shows so much of what they probably had to go through.
Do you think do you think that line might be something that forms the basis of the song that is meant to help you relax at the end of the day? You know, we're talking about like unwinding from work. Maybe it's that line is something, I know things will be better or were better. There's like some kind of hopeful kind of it feels like a quieter line, doesn't it? And the sheer hard work feels quite like loud and rhythmic. This line feels, to me, feels quiet.
So when you lead out of things, when you get back home, it's kind of that reflection on the day.
Yeah.
And you know, when I imagine that, you know, I think we all do it. We get home from a day of work and you sit there kind of, you know, you reflect on what you've done. Do you think you've had a good day? And especially when you do think you've had a really good day, you know that, you know, it's a work towards something bigger and better. So I think
that's interesting. Yeah, so more on the kind of like personal sense as well. Like you've made a change for the better, and it's that's interesting.
I think especially when you do look.
Half an hour's pay, and if you were not there for 8:30, they just didn't want to know. You had to report back in the afternoon and you lost the morning's work. Much different from the clothing factories today, where the employer is only too glad that a machinist in particular comes in any old time of the day. They're only glad if they only work a few hours a day. Anyhow, things have changed, I know, for the better.
Okay, so Becky and I have come up with some lyrics. So we're thinking for Lily, I've worked all my life. I wanted to work straight away because what else would I do? You have to be very, very quick to earn your money. She had confidence, she had belief, she broke the mold, a very, very lovely machinist. People used to sew, tailors' shops, you know, you had to be very, very quick to earn your money. And something else. Feels like that needs to get repeated. We might have to think about coming up with another verse,
like I said, I think I'll give it a good listen through again, and then we'll see what we come up with.
Cool. Okay. Do you want to do what you've got down for Martin?
So obviously having a bit of a chant going through there with put, pull, mark, fit, layer, find a way, shear, hard labour.
Yeah.
And then clever at cutting out patterns, piecing together as much as we can, leftover fabric we took for ourselves, and that's how you make a cabbage.
Yay!
Got cabbage in there, I'm happy.
I think that's going to be my favourite song ever now, actually.
Little ringtone, everything.
And then with Martin, it's that key phrase, isn't it? Things have changed, I know, for the better, that we maybe will go through 3 different phases. Things will change, things have changed, things have changed, we can do better.
Yeah.
Think about it. Cool. Okay. So, right, okay, I'm going to stop recording.
Tell you what, Aaron, when I record my track for people to play along to, I'll record it as 2 separate things. I'll do the piano track and the voice track.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll send you that. Do you use Logic?
Yes.
Yeah. So then I'll send you the Logic file so that if we get Omar to do the piano track, you could easily just take out my piano and put his in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Do you remember her talking about whether it was
she used to say they were long hours, and she's always having, you've got an easy job, you sit at a desk. We used to have to work from early hours in the morning till late at night. They used to walk even in the snow and the rain and all sorts. So I think they used to start at like 6 a.m. and then they wouldn't be home till like 7, 8 p.m.
Wow.
She brought in work from a factory in Cheetham Hill, and he was actually finishing raincoats for a Mr. Cohen.
Okay.
And when I was reading the story, that the surname was mentioned.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, it couldn't possibly be still. It might be the same, because it was like really high class raincoats.
Yeah.
And she would have to do all the finishing was done by hand. It wasn't by machinery.
So she brought it home to do it. She worked at home.
The manager used to bring the work to my mum, and she would sit right behind me where I'm sat now on a little stool, and it was mountains, seriously, mountains of raincoats.
Wow.
And it would be a pile of raincoats that she had to do, and she was paid by the item, by the raincoat.
Yeah.
Literally, she had to do all the finishing work that had to be done by hand.
Wow.
And she would sit there, and it was like a pile of, the ones, and the pile the finished item, and it was like 2 mountains of raincoats in our living room.
Wow.
And
but did you used to help her?
Yeah, and I remember when I used to finish school after I had my tea, I would sit on the floor, and some of the, the belts that the raincoat would have.
Oh, like a trench coat, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to sit there with a knitting needle and turn them inside out, and so make sure that it's really pointed, the finishing at the end.
They really are key workers. People doing the Amazon deliveries, people like, the people are doing now, running around in their vans delivering because people are not going out.
Yeah.
But their work schedules and what they have to do.
Yeah.
The guys that are in these vans that are delivering, they've got to get through those deliveries, all of them, and they're on the go. They literally sometimes have to take a toilet break in the vehicle. You can't even get out the vehicle to go for a proper toilet break, and lunch breaks or anything like that, just out the window. It's just.